Hello guys, in today's video I've brought myself a returning guest in Mike from the F1 Fanatics channel. If you haven't already, do check his channel out because it's absolutely awesome, and he's a great friend of mine. As well. So in today's topic, I thought we talk about how we can save the 2020 Formula One season, and how, given that it's been massively affected by Formula One, and what the effects might be for the future of Formula One. So I let you kick off, Mike. What's your initial thoughts about the current situation within Formula One?
I mean, it's a terrible situation. I mean, it's a terrible situation like across the world, isn't it? And so, the whole world's been affected. So Formula One is obviously included within that. And I don't think we ever thought that when it got cancelled at the Australian Grand Prix that we'd lose as many races as what we have done so far, because obviously I think it was just last week, wasn't it, that Canada got cancelled. Just yesterday of us recording this, I believe all events in Belgium have been postponed. Public gatherings until the 31st of August at the earliest, and obviously the Belgian Grand Prix on the 30th. So I don't know on that. So it's crazy, man, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
I totally agree with you. And I'm really worried for this season. In my opinion, they should just cancel the entire season and then get this under control, and then just start in 2021 and get the rules and everything, apart from the budget cap, obviously get that postponed till 2024, I would say.
Wow, push it back that far.
What's your thoughts on that?
It's a really difficult one. For people's well-being and in terms of putting on the greatest show, it is the easiest thing to do is to kind of cancel everything, but financially that would be really difficult. And if we can get any sort of racing, even if the championship's only 10 or 12 races, and through back-to-back weekends, which I'm sure we'll go on and talk about how a possible season could go ahead. I think until the last possible moment, cancelling everything back to 2021 is the last possible solution for me. I think we have to try for as long as possible for the sustainability of F1. It will be pretty tough for those teams because they'll have no money that come in, and a lot of them, I imagine, are relying on the prize money. Coming in, and it'd be difficult. So, but the rules I would push back to 2023 at the most. I think 2022 at the moment is okay, but that depends very much on how the teams are affected.
Apart from the budget cap, I would kick the budget cap in straight, as soon as we get racing again. Only just because I don't know whether you've seen, but I did a video a couple of days ago about which teams are at risk, and I've fingered out Williams and Haas, actually. Quite a spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, do check it out. I'll leave a link in the corner. But I've heard that there's rumors that actually teams like McLaren and are struggling as well. So the more established teams that are struggling. So I do agree with you that we have to get racing as soon as possible again. But how would you do it if you was Liberty Media or you was Ross Brawn? How would you do it?
I see. That's the $1 million question, isn't it, Raz? You're asking all the tough ones today. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Williams and Haas for me definitely seem they're the most at risk mainly because Haas were deliberating whether to continue and stay in F1 anyway, and Williams, it was never whether they want to, but obviously financially they're struggling. It may force them to sell a bit of the Williams name just so they can compete.
They already have.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they already have, but I mean even more so than what they've done. You know, it's already pushing them to things. And well, McLaren have been the big advocates, saying that it needs a really strict budget cap, didn't they? I think they said they could, you know, that their ideal one was down to 125 million, which you know seems drastic. That's another $50 million dollars down from what it was proposed, but I think it calls for drastic measures, doesn't it?
I would go to 80 million.
80? Wow. I mean, yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I love the sport, but I have no idea how much it realistically you could function a team on.
Because the thing is, right, we've all got I mean, we love Formula One. I mean, without our love, without Formula One, you, me, and Sean from the F1 World, and all the other great YouTubers, the F1 Debate Show wouldn't exist, and I think we wouldn't have had the friendships that we have formed, and I for that reason I think Formula One needs to be saved in inverted commas, but we also need to do it in a safe way, i.e. sort of we need to find a way of having races, maybe even going to have multiple races at tracks like, for example, Silverstone. I know that they've offered to hold multiple races, maybe even anti-clockwise or things like that. But I do think we need to get the season sorted. I mean, I've changed my mind. I've made a completely 180 because I was when it first started, I was sort of under you know, my argument was, you know, let's get this virus sorted and then think about it, you know, let's get this virus sorted and then worry about the racing later. But having said that, I think now having done a lot more research into it, and I didn't quite realize how much it affected Formula One financially. So I do actually agree with everybody that's saying we need to get at least some races going. But what would you do? Like,
yeah, obviously I avoided the question last time because it was such a tough one and went on to talk about the team struggling. No, it gave me some more time. Look, I think me and Ash discussed this. You know, when me and Ash were actually, you know, with this lockdown, we haven't been able to see each other and do videos together. But yeah, we were discussing, and one of my points that came up was, well, the most obvious one is you do exactly the same as what a calendar is, but just with less races, depending on when we can get it started. So whether that's 15, 13, 12, whatever, however many races that there is, we do that. Or like, it's been suggested, doing like double race weekends and like taking influence from F2 and F3 and doing like sprint races and feature races, so kind of shorter races over the weekend.
Well, I'm not
type
great.
of stuff.
I'm not a great fan of that, but
I'm not, but in an ideal world, it wouldn't happen with it. But if it means that it can get some sort of racing, it'll be enjoyable at the time, because I think any racing at this stage would be enjoyable. But I get what you mean. It doesn't feel F1 with those kind of sprint
yeah.
and features.
I mean, the thing that because don't forget, in order for it to be a championship, there's only got to be 8 races. So if we can get it going the latest possible time, which I think would be, I mean, I think October would be the latest possible time, and then hopefully by then they would have found something, or we would have flattened the curve, so to speak, and then we can have at least eight races, and then keep it as normal as possible, like have the full races, but maybe have them without the spectators if need be.
Yeah, I think that's an option. I mean, it would feel really tough to not have any spectators there, but I think you only have to look at the kind of the racing that's been happening online, in the virtual scene. With obviously some of the drivers getting together and raising money for charity in their own little championship. The Charles Leclerc's, the George Russells, Lando Norris's, Gio's, Albon's, them getting together, plus all the other kind of virtual racing that's going on.
Yeah.
People are watching it, aren't they? So, and that's technically behind closed doors, because we're just watching it online or on TV. So if it means that we can complete some championship rounds even with no crowds, it's not great, it's not ideal, but if it means that races can be held, some money can be made for the teams, it can help secure the financial future of F1, it's not the worst idea.
I've got a crazy idea, but I'll tell you about that later.
Keeping that under wraps, Raz, are you?
What?
Keeping that under wraps, are you then?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you about it in a little while. But who do you think is seriously, not just a little bit, but sort of who do you think is seriously in trouble in terms of finances?
Obviously, I've absolutely no idea the financial books of any teams, but I imagine, just on size of the teams, Williams, Haas, and Racing Point should be okay because they've got Lawrence, Strolls, but money in Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri, I'm not sure on. I mean, I know Alfa Tauri are linked to Red Bull, so I imagine they would be salvaged there a little bit, so they shouldn't be too in worry.
Yeah.
But I think Alfa Romeo might be struggling, but then they've got the Ferrari link. I don't know. Haas and Williams are the obvious ones.
Yeah. And here's the question for you: How endangered is Formula One itself?
Honest question, I have no idea. I have no idea. I like to, in my own little naive bliss world, probably like to believe that F1 will always be safe because of the history that it's got, and in one form or another, it will exist. So I think it's safe.
Yep.
So even if it takes a bad 2, 3, 4 years, I still think F1 will exist in some form or other.
Yeah. So my question to you is, I mean, I've thought about this, and you know the esports and the with the whole coronavirus thing, the whole thing. I've thought about why not do like run the races, right, with all 22 drivers, right, but get them to do it on the 20 for on the F1 2020 game, and actually actually do the full distances, and then give them the extra points to that, give them the extra points and give them the prize money. I know it's a crazy thought, but
it's an interesting idea. That I don't know how it would be bizarre, wouldn't it? Because surely you can't though have half the races competed in the virtual world and then the other half completed in the real world.
Why not?
Because just because as much as obviously the virtual world of racing has come on tenfold and it is really impressive, it's not the same as racing.
Yeah, I know it's not the same. I mean, I agree with you in the fact that if it was me and you, yeah, we would lift the ban straight away. Once it's safe, and then go racing. But we can't do that at the minute, so we've got to, and the virtual way is a credible, is a credible option, and as you say, people watch it, so just that would be a way of bringing some money into the teams, or and give the drivers something to do, and it would also sort of give the fans something to do, because to be honest with you, I mean, I'm pretty bored, yeah. Hence the reason why I got myself Photoshop, and
give you something new to learn.
Yeah. So, but I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know about you, but I'm sort of, I'm sort of missing the racing as well. So maybe if the virtual world would actually be something to fight for, i.e., getting some money, right? Maybe not as much or whatever, but it would help the teams out, and then it would give the drivers something to do. It would mix the team. It would mix the championship. It would mix up the championship no end, because I can't imagine Kimi Räikkönen. I can't imagine Kimi Räikkönen is a seasoned gamer, but whereas Lando Norris and Kvyat, or like Alex Albon or Max Verstappen, you know, that it would make the championship very interesting, wouldn't it?
It would do. I don't know. I think how it's working at the moment is pretty good. But if you try to put a more competitive edge on it, I know obviously you have the F1 esports, where everything's in kind of a plain thing, and you could make it a drivers' championship, but you wouldn't be able to brand it F1 because one of the main instruments of F1 is the car,
Yeah.
and you can't virtually regenerate that to the scale of work that it needs to.
Yeah.
I don't think that sort level of simulation is out there yet, and you know that they've got pretty good mimics of it, but you couldn't. I know what you're saying in terms of in getting money for teams. I honestly don't know. It's an unprecedented time. I've no idea. It could possibly be an idea, but you certainly couldn't brand it as an F1 championship because part of F1 is the constructors.
Another way that what they've said was that the Formula One circus would go in their own sort of bubble and have like, you know what I mean, like, but I don't know how that would work because I mean and one other crazy idea was that that's been blown, you know, that's been blowing up the internet. I think you know what I'm on about when good old Helmut Marko decided to inject, like, you know, infect every one of his drivers in the Red Bull racing in the Red Bull program with the virus. I think that was that would that was the most stupidest idea ever. I mean, I've made a video about it, you know, but what was your what were your first impressions? Like, what was your first reactions when you saw, you know, when you heard about it?
Look, Helmut Marko is he's not shy of sharing an opinion or two, whether it be controversial or not. But I just can't. I don't know. I don't know. I think you were speaking with Tomo about this. I'm not sure what Helmut Marko is a doctor of.
Law.
Law.
Yes.
Well, then, as he's not a medical professional, he has no right to be suggesting what's the best way to deal with this. It just, yeah. I mean, there are times that you just wish that there was a mute button for Helmut. Look, the guy has run an academy that, whether you like it or not, is incredibly successful.
Yep.
You may not agree with all the way decision that he goes about it. He's there. What you can disagree with him about is his opinions, and he doesn't necessarily come across as the. I'm sure he's nice in some circles. Max Verstappen says he never has a problem with Helmut Marko, but yeah, in other circles, he just. I mean, yeah, that it was just stupid. Is all I can say.
I mean, but what do you think about the whole bubble idea and self-contained?
I don't know what'll work. You can have the best idea of being self-contained, but the problem is, as the numbers get larger and larger, the more difficult thing it is to contain. And so, can you contain everyone within the F1 circle with all the staff, even if you operated with a skeleton staff? that seems something incredibly difficult for me. It unfortunately, I think it is just a waiting game.
Yes.
We gotta wait and hope that the medical professionals can get on top of this as quickly as possible.
Which it doesn't look like, they're making progress, but they're not making, it's not like we've got a it's not like we have got an injection or vaccine on the horizon. I mean, my worry about it is, even once this ban is lifted, yeah, you imagine if this ban is lifted in the next, I don't know, 4 weeks, yeah, who is to say that, because at the minute they're going down, yeah, like, there's still death happening around the world, and but everybody is sort of keeping distance. But you imagine all the spectators, and you imagine if everybody, if the Formula One would start again in you know in 3 months time or whatever, and then all the people would mix again, yeah, because they're gonna have to mix again with the, they're gonna have to speak with the engineers and everything. But who's to say that it's not gonna um backfire and we have the second wave sort of thing? So
I agree, mate. It's a no idea, and I think everyone is desperate to get back to normal life. Whether you've got us with wanting Formula One back, wanting to go, people wanting to go back to jobs, go back to work.
yep.
People wanting other sports back, football, rugby, the Olympics. That's got to be a terrible one, because that's once every 4 years, and athletes who have programs that they've been planning out to peak at the end of that 4 years are being thrown out the window for
Yep.
performance wise. But
I mean, how does it affect you with your cricket and stuff, with your personal training as well? Because I know that.
Well, currently for me, it's unemployment. You can help a little bit here or there, but it completely puts a stop, really, because the majority of my work is in person and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm obviously desperate for it to get back, because I need my livelihood. I need my job back. But yeah,
I mean, it's in terms of Formula One, I think Formula One as an organization, like as an entity, I think it's safe. But I do think they should have like a rescue plan, as in inject, like the government is doing, like paying you 80% of your monthly wage or whatever it is. I think they should do something similar within Formula One, regardless of what the prize money is, because we need to get through this in order to save it, if that makes sense.
I would, I'd be devastated if Formula One team, with all the people whose jobs were associated with the team, or the drivers, losing 2 drivers from the current grid, just losing a more competitive grid. Say it was a Williams or a Haas had to fold. I would hate to lose a Formula One team in these circumstances. So Formula One, I'm sure they are. That if we're having this conversation, people who are paid big buck salaries to look after the well-being of F1. I'm sure they're thinking of this stage. I know, it's easy to criticise, and from our position, we're often armchair commentators on these things. But I'm sure they are putting procedures in place, and I do trust the sport, but it's difficult. I don't envy anyone in their kind of decision-making decisions, because we've never had to deal with anything like this in our lifetime, and certainly not in the lifetime of Formula One's existence.
And sort of to round this off, did you actually think when it first appeared in China? I mean, I can remember doing a video about the whole thing, like, is the Chinese Grand Prix in jeopardy because of the coronavirus? But I never, in a million years, you could have, I would have put down all the money that I had available that this wouldn't become, an issue like it has. So, what did you think? Did you?
I'll be honest with you. I was blissfully naive in the beginning. I didn't think it would escalate and grow to this stage. I remember someone mentioning around about the time that China was cancelled, going, "Oh, do you think?" Because it was starting to get bigger in Italy at that point, going, "Oh, do you think Monza will be cancelled?" And it was like, "Oh, it's September. It'll be fine. Everything will be okay by then." I never foresaw this happening. I don't think anyone did. It is crazy to think how everything's escalated.
But on a positive note, I think Formula One has faced, they've always managed to get through some of it. They've always managed to get through some crisis. So I reckon they're gonna get through this crisis in all. We had the 9/11. We had the 9/11. And then everybody was scared about traveling. We had the thing about in Indianapolis. Fair enough, that was the most ridiculous and pointless race there was, with 6 cars on the grid. Yet, at least there was some racing. You know what I mean? So I think Formula One will get through. We'll come up with some way of getting some races sorted. I mean, I'm not a fan of having the sprint. I'm not a fan of having the sprint races because firstly, it would take the big, the Sunday away. It would take the sort of edge. Like the Sunday. I mean, the qualifying is epic, but the Sunday is where the big point is. And if you would sort of give 25 points for half an hour races, that wouldn't. I mean, I would still watch it, but then how it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have the same appeal to me. But what do you think about it?
I agree. Yeah, maybe it was half points for the sprint races or something like that. It was something there. But look, F1's got a loyal fan base. It's had 70 years of history. It's got a swell of support behind it. It is the biggest motorsport category in the world. It's certainly the most supported one. There's a hunger for it, and there's a support for it. It's going to be a struggle. I imagine before the end, there's going to be sacrifices that's going to need to be made with it. But I certainly see, positively. We'll have a future in F1, and fingers crossed that future in F1 isn't too distant a future, and hopefully we can have normal races, not the length that we were expected to. Remember, it was meant to be a record-breaking year for a number of races in 22 races in a season, but hopefully we can still have a substantial amount of races and enjoy some on-track action, which we're all desperately missing right now.
We are. Final question to you, and this really is the final question. Obviously football is another big sport that is suffering at the minute, and given that you're a football fan as well, I'm probably going to make myself really popular here, but which sport has the bigger following, football or Formula One, and why?
Oh well, this is a random, a classic one with you, Raz. A kind of a random note to kind of end up on from there. Football has the bigger following. Football is the bigger sport globally. I don't think that's any denying. I think it's because football is a lot more easily accessible. Like I know obviously the Formula One games are making racing a little bit more accessible, and there's other forms of it, and go-karting you can go to, but you still have to go to a specialized area to do that. Football you can literally just kind of play in your street, and so that's why football has the biggest following and the biggest support, because everyone can believe for a small moment that they're Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, even though they're absolutely nowhere near that ability. But you know what I mean. It's a little bit. It seems a little bit more achievable than running around at 200 mile an hour with this.
Now, before we round this off, I think we should call this episode just a random chat about Formula One, because it's just been random. Have you watched the second season of Drive to Survive?
I have indeed, yes.
What do you make of it?
I enjoyed it. I know it's got mixed reviews. For me, I always love seeing the kind of you lied to me as well. You said that was the last question. You give me another question, but no. But with Drive to Survive, my favourite episodes were like the Williams episodes, and the Mercedes was my favourite episode. I loved the Mercedes episode, seeing Toto Wolff, how he operated the entirety of it was really good.
I mean, I got hold of Netflix.
Oh yeah.
During this time of quarantine, and my first thought was, when Lewis Hamilton said he was feeling a bit under the weather.
Yep.
He was. Remember that? Remember that bit?
I do.
I thought he had corona. Right?
That's how much your mind has changed, but obviously, clearly, back then it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people had it without actually realizing it.
I don't know if it would have been that early. Surely it wouldn't have been. I've no idea. I presume it originated in China and everything went from there. But yeah, I've no idea how long this thing's been going.
But you see, because like that's what I'm saying. Every time you've got a cold or something, or a cough or something, everybody is like corona, and I'm sick and tired of hearing about it, to be honest.
Oh, I know, mate. I know. We need to have some kind of fresh and positive news about Formula One, and something. I think everyone needs something a little bit uplifting in times like these.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you for coming on and doing this random chat about Formula One. I mean, it was meant to be like, to start with, how the season could be safe, but it turned into a good chat, didn't it?
Yeah, it always does with you, Raz. I do always enjoy kind of having a good chat and a good ramble about things. And at the moment, unfortunately, it's a lot of hypotheticals rather than actual stuff. But mate, as always, thank you for having me on. It's always great chatting to you, and it's good to see, obviously, that you are well during this time. And obviously, you've been doing awesome recently, and you're so close to 500 subscribers. So guys, if you're watching this and you are watching this as not a subscriber of Raz on F1, please do subscribe, because great channel and great guy to just listen to about Formula One. It is brilliant. And so thank you as always, Raz, for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks for agreeing to do that. And again, if you haven't already, I can only echo what Mike said about my channel to his channel. Do go and show him some love, and just because we all got to support each other during these difficult times. What I will say is, if anybody else is out there that wants to have a chat with me about Formula One, I'm pretty sure, let me know, and I'm pretty sure Mike is the same, because we are all stuck in, lockdown, and we've got to make the best out of it. So,
We certainly do.
cheers for watching, guys, and cheers for having, coming on, Mike, and I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon, mate. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.